Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another political episode. So in front of you all is a map of the United States Senate elections in 2026. 2026 is a big year. It's the midterms, and really this is going to be the third midterm elections that I'll be paying attention to cognitively. I'll tell you, my first midterm elections that I really paid attention was the 2018 one. That again, I was in high school, I walked into my freshman year of high school, walked into my American citizenship class, and of course, we talked about political parties, and the topic of that was the off and on topic throughout the class was the midterms. So I have to give my American citizenship class credit because that's what I found a passion for politics. I'm like, wow, I actually was dreading this class. Like, really? Like, how is that? And then I immediately began falling in love with it. But it's an amazing stuff, and I'll obviously, I learned a lot when it came to the 2018 midterms. Obviously, a huge win for Democrats. Although Democrats were upset about their losing the midterm, the Senate in 2018, they couldn't flip the Senate because, as you know, it was a Class 1 year, and Class 1 is just so hard for Democrats. But guess what? It looks like it's going to be the same in Class 2. Republicans have built a super majority in the Senate so much that, guess what? They necessarily cannot lose the Senate. It's impossible. Right here, you have the 2026 maps. This is the guaranteed map what it's going to look like. These are the solid red states and the solid blue states. You may put Susan Collins in Maine up, or maybe New Hampshire. Some say Tina Smith is kind of vulnerable. I'll tell you, Tina Smith. Well, this is 2020. Let's go over here. Okay, Tina Smith, 2020. She should have lost if it wasn't for Kevin O'Connor, who came from the Legal Marijuana Now party. Jason Lewis would have been the senator, a senator-elect. It would have been extremely tight. Actually, no. Hang on. No, my bad. Tina Smith would still have won. Kevin O'Connor was taking votes from, of course, Smith, and she still won. So some say, oh, that's a disqualification. She should be winning re-election pretty easily. Yeah, she could perform a Tim Walz performance, although she did win 48.74% of the popular vote in 2020. 2018, she performed something similar, but look at how quickly she fell in a matter of 2 years in that special election. She fell from 52.97% to 48%. And that is because of Kevin O'Connor taking away left-wing votes from that Legal Marijuana Now party. So you could go ahead and say Minnesota is up for grabs. But as of right now, I have heard no indications of that's going to be the case. So this is going to be still remaining Democrat. So, but really, I do feel that Jeanne Shaheen is going to probably win. Jeanne Shaheen is pretty popular and well-liked in her state. Yes, you got, of course, the former Massachusetts Senator Scott Brown, who was a former United States Senator, was defeated by Warren in the 2012 election here. He was ousted by Warren, ran in New Hampshire 2 years later, but came very short to Jeanne Shaheen, and it looks like Brown could go and do that again and face his former opponent, Jeanne Shaheen. The problem with that, though, Shaheen had a breaking record in 2020, like 56.63%. She's become very popular, and with that being said, I kind of feel like, I don't know if that's going to be the case. When it comes to Maine, Susan Collins, I support her. I want to let you guys know that. I don't like her. I demise her. I disagree with her. She is an obstacle, but it would be much worse if we had a Democrat in there, a woke Democrat from Maine. And what it's looking like, you're seeing potential candidates like Jared Golden. I think Golden would be there. I think he's their only guy that Democrats got, and when it comes to taking the Senate seat, if they nominate Golden, there's no it's going to be a tight race with Susan Collins for sure. There's Troy Jackson, Janet Mills, the governor of Maine, kind of has a shot. There's Shelley Pingree, the congresswoman from the 1st district. Susan Collins right now remains in battle, but right now I'd say let's just go ahead and put her in the toss-up. So you got 4 tossed-up states. Really, you just have 51 seats for Republicans, and needingly so. Republicans, let's just say Democrats win all of the swing states. That doesn't mean they win the Senate. Actually, it means the opposite. They lose the Senate because Republicans already have the necessary amount of seats needed to win, 51. And yeah, they did lose a demanding majority. They lost, 53 seats, which it was indeed very frustrating if that is the case. But there's a good chance Republicans can, of course, hold the Senate. Obviously, we aren't going to go on a flipping spree like we did in 2022. We flipped 4 seats. We flipped West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Montana. We can do it again. We can flip these 4 swing states. I mean, we hold Maine, and really holding North Carolina. Why am I putting North Carolina on there? Well, there's Tom Tillis, and he's not necessarily popular. Tom Tillis approval rating in North Carolina, because I have a feeling that we will very much well lose this Senate seat. And Tom Tillis approval rating, yeah. I just want to look. Okay, this is 538. This is the Trump score, 90%. Trump career. I just want to know the approval rating. And that's all. This is for Joe Biden. Yes, the new poll. Okay, this is, of course, 2020. And even in 2020, they were saying Tillis was endangered incumbent, as his approval rating was trailing Trump. It seems that Tillis is an overperformer in some areas. You'll see, looking here, 68.69% against Cal Cunningham. North Carolina Senate 23. He couldn't make it across. I think there's a chance that we can get Tillis in. Keep Tillis. It's kind of rough. Okay, I mean, the idea is, okay, usually when he survived by an inch, there's a likely chance that he's probably going to dip down to 47 now, or 46%, and just grab someone from the Democrats. And they, for instance, grab, this is Willie Nickel. Willie Nickel could be running for that said seat. His announcement is somewhat pending. And, of course, the outgoing governor of North Carolina, Roy Cooper, he is publicly expressed. And if you get Roy Cooper, I'm sorry, but we cannot beat Roy Cooper. Roy Cooper is too difficult, okay? He did win. I mean, he was kind of unopposed in the 2012 election. Yeah, in the times 2008, I get it was a different year. It was a blue wave in 2008, but 61%. You got most North Carolinians rallied behind you. 51% against Dan Forrest in 2020. Very close race against the unpopular governor, Pat McCrory. Okay, so yeah, I think I see it very difficult. This is probably going to be the tightest race. North Carolina, the most tightest race out of them all. In my idea, my expectations, I would have it go for Democrats. I'll let you guys know my prediction right now. But this is what, obviously, I feel there's no real polls that have been dropped, and really, we'll start talking about 2026. Okay, this would be a flip. We'll start talking about 2026 when that time comes, like in October. Let's just say October. Then we'll start really talking about 2026. Although in October 2025, we'll really, really be talking about New Jersey and Virginia, because that will be a month until those gubernatorial races. But obviously, this is my expectation going through this. North Carolina going for said the Democrats. As of right now, I don't see the indication that Tillis would cross the line. It really does depend on who he's going up against. I know he can't win against Roy Cooper, but we'll still try to go against him. Jeff Jackson, Attorney General elect, I doubt he's going to run. He just got into the Attorney General office. Willie Wickle is possibly going to be the candidate in this said race. And it could be Cooper versus Nickel in the Democrat primaries. We'll keep an eye on that. Georgia. Now, Georgia I have good feelings more about Georgia than North Carolina. Why so? Well, I'll tell you why. First, we got to go back to 2020. Okay, so John Ossoff managed to defeat the incumbent David Perdue in a very close election in the runoff. Why? How did he do that? Well, first, he got the support from, of course, the Blue Wave of 2020 and all that stuff. He got that support from African Americans, etc. And it's not like African Americans really liked him. They were mostly showing up for this guy, Raphael Warnock. They were more amused with Warnock than they were with Ossoff. And you'll see that in the runoff, a much wider margin with Warnock and Kelly Loeffler, and it was like almost a 4-point margin, 2-point margin, what it's looking like right now. A much wider margin compared to, David Perdue had enjoyed a better chance, a better time taking out Ossoff in this election. You'll see he even won the popular vote first round, while in the said Senate election first round, the first round was actually a mix of, it was a 3-party race. You got 2 Republicans, 1 Democrat, and of course, Warnock, being the only Democrat, performed very well, but could not reach, you'll see he only obtained 32.9%. There was a lot of split ticketing. Even Deborah Jackson failed to get a grip in the said race. But, yes, you'll see. Looking at, you'll see. Here's the results. But I want to look specifically at, so why am I thinking about John Ossoff? I think John Ossoff is absolutely beatable. I think the chances taking out Ossoff is much bigger than actually defeating, keeping Tom Tillis to be I think Tom Tillis will really need to be more conservative in order to win re-election, honestly. I'm really hoping he doesn't run. I think he is running. I know it's going to be a problem with Tom Tillis. I'm going to be honest with you, and that's why I'm kind of hoping he gets primaried. We kind of have no choice. If we want to keep the North Carolina, and I know we're going to win the Senate regardless, but if we are going to keep North Carolina, then we got to do what we can, honestly. Tillis, if he's being an absolute problem, if he's not going to accept Trump's nominees, then guess what? We're throwing him out. And we'll have to brainstorm on a Republican to throw out Tillis. And honestly, it's going to be, this has to be the number one competitive Senate race out of them all. Michigan, even, it is way more easier to win than North Carolina. Let's take a look at Michigan. Michigan, we are going against Gary Peters, who was reelected in 2020, but it was a tight race against John James, who now is a U.S. congressman in the United States in the United States House of Representatives. You'll see James, he managed to win Grand Rapids in Kent County. Kent County has become a blue Democrat stronghold. Kamala Harris won it by around over 5 points. You'll see he couldn't win Saginaw, but yes, you'll see clearly that Gary Peters is losing his influence. He's down below 50%. It was a tight race, you'll see, but he managed to win. And this is during a blue wave itself. So, honestly, the question is, can we take out Gary Peters? Obviously, he was elected in 2014, 2020, and he could be up for grabs in 2026. And what I'm really hoping is, okay, depending on how the year goes, if usually the midterms usually, how it usually goes is, I'm trying to think, it's usually it's more tight in favor for Democrats. 2018, blue wave. 2020 wasn't a midterm year, but it was a blue wave. Usually, it's in favor of the opposing party in office right now, and that would be Democrats. But I have a big feeling that it's not going to be that way. Personally, I think they're going to win the House. I think they're looking very good in the House of Representatives, but obviously they're not going to win the Senate. In terms of flipping Senate seats, there's only little they can flip. They can win all 4, but even that's not going to win the Senate for them. And honestly, that would be a worst case performance for Republicans. Honestly, usually even in 2018, Republicans did pick up Senate seats, the tossed up Senate seats. Very rarely do Democrats win all the tossed up seats. You'll see Florida was considered a toss-up, along with Missouri, Indiana, North Carolina, North Dakota, Texas, Arizona, Nevada. All these states in the Senate. Republicans managed to do a lot of flipping in there too also. But the deal was there, it was more in favor for Dems. But you get what I'm saying here, interestingly enough. Hang on. Yeah, Royce White, he's actually announced his candidacy for this election. Wait, hang on. No, he hasn't. Publicly expressed interest, Royce White. He ran in 2024. I saw this coming. He said he would run. He's probably going to run against Tina Smith or the Democratic next incumbent Democrat. Tim Walz could run again, but I highly doubt it would. That would be the case. But it's saying 2024 Republican U.S. Senate nominee Royce White has announced his candidacy. I'm going to go ahead and see if that's true. Obviously, yes, it says yes, announces he will run for Senate again in 2026. He will run again against Tina Smith, where actually he's going to have a better chance of winning, because Tina Smith is not Amy Klobuchar. Tina Smith ultimately is, I wouldn't say she's more weaker. She is like that Tim Walz type. Amy Klobuchar's a juggernaut. And really, she did a major underperformance. She underperformed 4 points in 2024. I think looking at Royce White, I think he has a chance. Can he win? I don't think he will. But I definitely think he's going to do a lot more. A very better chance of winning compared to 2022, of course. But yes, you'll see he's running again in 2026. You'll see Royce White. He'll be running again. Okay, so obviously, what's my thoughts on the Michigan election? Right, I'm kind of leaning in for Gary Peters. I do not necessarily know. It's kind of hard to tell. Looking at 2020, yeah, you'll see it swung dramatically in favor. It really does depend on who his running, like who his opponent is. It's kind of hard. You'll see, yes, Gary Peters almost reached the top of 50%. He lost Kent County, which holds, of course, Grand Rapids. It's, of course, very difficult. It's pretty close. And I think it's kind of hard to point out. Alyssa Slotkin came in close in 2024 this year. You would think that would be the same effect this time around. I am not so sure. But we could go ahead and say, as of right now, what we're looking at the numbers right here from 2014 to now to today. Look, we could go and see his approval rating. That would better help us. Gary Peters approval rating. Michigan. Is vote smart. Okay. Okay, I don't care about your stances. I just want to know your approval ratings overall, your public approval rating. Yeah, this is 2022. Peters, he was most effective. That doesn't mean he's the most popular. I obviously, yeah, it's going to be pretty hard. But let's just say, in case scenario, he underperforms, and we end up winning that seat. This is what it looks like. If we get the right guys in, this is what it would kind of look like. So anyway, like I said here, we just reviewed the 2026 election, but what about going forward, about like the future? A lot of people may think, will this, like 2028, what about 2028? What about 2030? Well, Red Eagle Politics made a good point last night that I want to kind of like touch base. It's true that, yes, the field is expanding on red states are becoming more redder and blue states are becoming more bluer in the Senate. What I mean about that is these states, like you got Montana, you got West Virginia, they're no longer becoming blue. They're becoming more red. And you got more swing states. They're choosing more different directions. And like, for example, you got Pennsylvania, you got Wisconsin, you got Arizona, you got Georgia. And really, the only state that's not really a swing state, that's a blue state, that's kind of acting kind of red, that's Maine. And that's why Susan Collins is kind of up in the air. She was supposed to lose a re-election in 2020. She won by like 7-9 points. So she could survive again. I would like to have that happen, despite a lot of people not liking her. I don't like her. Keep making that clear. It's just we need her vote. We really need her vote. When it comes to the Senate, we need that seat. To keep a long-lasting filibuster-proof majority. But yet again, a 60, which you should know is the filibuster-proof. So, like, for instance, how can Republicans keep the Senate in the future? Well, here's how it can go. Really, you just have seats that remain tossed up. You'll see like, for example, 2020, I already went over my prediction on what I think the said Senate would look like in 2026. So this is my estimated prediction. In worst case scenario, we lose in Michigan. We lose in Georgia. You know what? We can cry about it. Or we lose in Maine. Yeah, we can cry about it because we still win the Senate. But what I just said clearly, I predicted that, of course, Republicans would win in Georgia, Democrats North Carolina, Republicans in Michigan, Republicans in Maine. So it's really up in the air how I view it. But looking at, for example, let's take a look at 2028 United States Senate. And that, I want to believe, is Class 3. And bringing us back to the game here, a lot of people say, oh, is John Fetterman, is he able to get out? Oh, I don't know necessarily. But let's just say, yeah, you have, I want to believe, yeah, Tim Scott is retiring, I believe. Yes, he is not taking an office. As far as I know of, he has Senate leadership right now, but he has vowed after the 2022 election that he wouldn't run for re-election. But yes, this is what we're looking at right now. Let's see, you got Pennsylvania, you got Georgia up for grabs. I think Raphael Warnock, it's possible that he could keep his seat in 2028, especially if it's a blue wave year. There's Ron Johnson. He's up there in age, so I have skepticism when it comes to that. You got also Mark Kelly. But really, with all these swing states, guys, Republicans, it seems that wait, hang on. This is not Ron Johnson. There we go. Yeah, even with these swing states, guys, it still seems as if Republicans still have their majority in 2028, which is absolutely amazing if you actually think about it. This means that Democrats, they are unable to create a trifecta. They are unable to create a trifecta for a very, very long time. In fact, yeah, Republicans have just created a Senate problem, in other words. Yeah, they gain a seat in North Carolina, but Republicans, they kind of still hold on to they would need a miracle, like if they win in Texas, they flip Florida. They would have to go on a flipping spree, like Ohio. And I'll tell you, it's not necessarily going to work like that. I mean, these states are becoming more redder. They're becoming more partisan when it comes to the Senate. It's not like the governorship where you got Vermont voting red and Kentucky voting blue. That we would love to believe that, right? But that's not the case. That's not going to happen. But let's just say, other words, Ron Johnson, he loses re-election. Raphael Warnock, he wins re-election. Fetterman wins re-election or whatever. Kelly and maybe Cortez Masto, I would assume maybe she would win re-election, maybe she would lose. I don't know. Maybe let's just say she'll. I'm not necessarily. Let's just say she loses re-election as of right now. It looks like this as of right now in 2028. Republicans still win the Senate. Republicans have deadlocked the Democratic Party from winning, which is absolutely amazing. They cannot win. Absolutely fascinating. But yeah, great point made by Red Eagle Politics. The last time, let's just say besides, maybe Republicans can pick up the House back in 2028. But I'm not necessarily going to say it's going to be a red wave year just because the Senate will go red. we don't necessarily know the cases of 2030. I think going and predicting 2030 is a little bit too much. But then, you could even say North Carolina goes blue. You can make that case about North Carolina. But still, Republicans still pick up 53 seats in the said Senate. It's done. It is done and said. Like I said, 2030, too far away. But yeah, the Senate is red. And really, this would be in a Democrats win in 2028, which absolutely is very possible that they would. It would be the first time since, of course, no, this is the Senate election, since 2012, where Republicans and Democrats won a series of races in a presidential year. You'll see Democrats, they won the presidential year, they won the presidency. They won the Senate, but Republicans won the House, of course. But Democrats did gain a net worth of +8, but that was, as you should know, the red wave of 2010 really did help Republicans in that said series of races. It really does depend on how, and when it comes to the House, it really does depend on how Republicans play. I'm seeing no future for Republicans in the House right now. It's looking very thin. I mean, Democrats just need to flip 2 more seats. And I'm having a hard time seeing, unless Republicans, we really, really focus on Maine's 2nd Congressional District. We really, really, really focus on North Carolina's 1st Congressional District. We focus on these districts that went blue that Trump won. Like, for example, Ohio's coasts, that district. That should be Trump, because Trump won that district. Then I think maybe we can pull it off, and we can keep that trifecta. I would love to see that happen. But anyway, what do you guys think in regards to our video? Long video, but a must-needed conversation. Let me know down below, and as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.